So, I, 29 female, have been married to my husband for 8 years. About 2 months ago, I had my third loss, 31 weeks. About 4 months ago, my sister-in-law, 20, came crying at our doorstep, telling us she was pregnant and her boyfriend didn't want anything to do with the pregnancy and had nowhere to go. My husband and I openly took her in and welcomed her into our home with open arms. It was hard for her for the first few weeks, understandably. I sat with her for hours, holding her when she cried, binging our favorite TV shows, eating so much ice cream, and falling into a food coma. It was really bonding for us, so I thought. It starts going downhill here. I take pride in my neat, clean home. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, did not. She would leave her clothes all around the house and dirty dishes wherever, even going as far as leaving her toys on our living room table. I tried to talk to her directly before I spoke to my husband, but she immediately started crying and told me that she would try to be cleaner. I hugged her and told her it was okay, but this was a clear boundary for me. She told me it wouldn't happen again, but it only got worse. She told me I was expected to do her laundry, dishes, and clean her room daily because she's the pregnant one. I understand how hard it is to be pregnant. I just couldn't feel like a maid in my home. Disclaimer: I bought this house, not my husband. It was all me, not to mention my recent loss. So I told my husband, but what he told me shocked me. His exact words were, "Honey, she's going through a lot right now. We should be helping her. Plus, it might make you feel better to care for someone pregnant." I was angry, to say the least. Make me feel better? She's going through a lot? Do we need to help her? Letting her stay with us wasn't enough? Well, I don't want to invalidate her pain. My husband and I were also going through our own problems. Anyway, we moved on, and I did my best to maintain work and the household chores. My husband works 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., so he isn't around much to help. I work full-time from home, so it's been super stressful. When I even try to ask for help from my sister-in-law, she always makes an excuse, even if she's watching TV. The one thing that pushed me over the edge was I went out to buy the food I enjoyed eating after my loss. I wrote my name on it and asked my sister-in-law not to eat it. Well, I went to go to the fridge to get it, and you'll never guess. She freaking ate it. Now you may think it's just food. I buy all the groceries and basically pay all the bills. I don't mind people having some of my food, but the one thing I asked to not be touched gets touched. I told my husband, and he rubbed it into my face that she was pregnant. I need to be less selfish, and life is about sacrifices. I was so upset. I told him I felt like he and she were the horrible roommates people talk about, and he didn't take that well, LOL. My sister-in-law planned a random baby shower party thing at my house. I didn't know if I could even be home when this happened. I felt so hurt that she wouldn't talk to me, knowing everything that had happened, and that she would just invite random strangers into another person's home before asking. My husband urged me to go, and I told him it would permanently affect mine and her relationship, so I told him I'd go. About halfway through the party, my husband and sister-in-law announced they wanted to show the nursery to everyone. I was confused. Nursery? Was she staying that long? What room did she turn into a nursery? They told everyone to head upstairs, and that's when it hit me. They were talking about my nursery for my baby I had just lost. A wave of emotions hit me when I saw everyone in my baby's nursery telling her what a good job they did setting it up. My setup for my baby that my body failed to give me. I just lost it. I started sobbing, and then that sadness turned into pure rage. I started yelling at my sister-in-law, telling her that she was the foulest human for putting me through everything she had for the last few months, making me feel like I was a maid or an object for her convenience. Through choked up tears, I turned to my husband, whose jaw was on the floor. I turned my head to see his entire family just staring at me. I lost it again, yelling. I looked at my sister-in-law, telling her how dare she use my nursery for my baby. How dare she think she has the right? What she told me made me fall to my knees sobbing. It's not my fault you couldn't produce a child. Why let this go to waste? You're so selfish. My husband tried to pick me up off the floor, but I yelled again and told him, pick me or her. He couldn't even muster up anything to say. I just looked at him. Pure betrayal. I pushed past the crowd of family and ran straight up to the bedroom to type this out. Currently, my husband's entire family is sitting downstairs. Am I the idiot for yelling at my pregnant sister-in-law and telling my husband to choose me or her? OP, I'm sorry to say, but your husband's already chosen your sister-in-law again and again. You need to kick them both out ASAP and focus on healing. That family is toxic, and if you stay with your husband, you'll be dragged down and taken advantage of repeatedly until you're a shell of yourself. I've seen it happen to some incredibly kind, amazing women. They let a few rude comments go and then forgive some mistakes because they feel they've made a commitment and need to be the bigger person. Then they get beaten down mentally and emotionally, if not physically, to the point where that's their norm and it's all they know. You have no kids yet with this man. He has shown you where his loyalties and priorities lie, and it's not with you. Get out now while you can. You are not the idiot and never were. Good luck, OP. I 100% agree. That's quite possibly the meanest, most hurtful, disrespectful thing I've seen on here yet. The betrayal of those words your sister-in-law said to you while standing in your nursery are awful, vile, and disgusting. I feel like your husband and his sister are not done yet. Something tells me that another thing is coming, even bigger than a nursery. I'm so sorry, OP, for all you've been through. Kick her and your pathetic excuse for a husband out ASAP. Do you think they'll ask for her to stay and co-parent or make OP leave her own house? I'm starting to wonder if OP's husband is getting so defensive over his sister because he sees this as a chance to replace the baby they lost. I'm not excusing him because he's allowing his sister to treat his wife like crap, but it feels like an unhealthy coping mechanism. He will take this baby as if he's dad, keeping sis in the house forever, and OP can be the third wheel to clean up after the kid. Update. Am I the idiot for telling my husband to choose me or her? Here's the update everyone's been asking for. Buckle up. It's a long one. I sat on my bed, wiping my tears and telling myself that I would not take this disrespect. I walked downstairs, shutting my nursery door. On the way, I was greeted by everyone, comforting my sister-in-law. I kindly asked everyone, besides my sister-in-law and husband, to respectfully get the heck out of my house. After all the dirty looks and shaming, it was just my husband, sister-in-law, and myself. They sat themselves on the couch, not saying anything. I sat with them. The silence felt like forever. None of us had anything to say. I knew I'd have to start the conversation. I looked at my husband and said, "Did you decide?" He looked at me, just staring. I asked again in a firm tone this time. He ended up mumbling some insults, and I couldn't really make out what he said. Something like, "You were witchy." I stood up and told them both to get out, and they wanted to talk, telling me that this is all a misunderstanding. They're sorry, blah, blah, blah. I grabbed a backpack from my shoe closet and told them to pack their crap. My sister-in-law told me I couldn't just make her leave, and I was horrible. I laughed in her face and told her this is my house, and I can do whatever I wanted. My husband stood beside me and told her it was only for a little while. I turned to him and said, "Oh, you too, get out." He got mad and told me we were a married couple, and this isn't how marriage works. I told him no, it's not. Marriage is where two people support each other and not treat their wife like crap. They both ended up leaving after many insults towards me. Oh, but wait, it's not over. This morning, as I was getting ready for a Zoom meeting with a few other coworkers, my husband showed up. I let him in, telling him to get whatever he needed and to go, because I had to work. He started apologizing and telling me He wanted to make it right. I told him I just needed time away from him. Then he threw in my face, "Well, it's not my fault you lost our children. Maybe this would have never happened." My sister was right. You are selfish. I have never ever made my husband feel like he cannot grieve with me over this. Never made him feel less than because of his pain. I turned around and slapped him in the face. I never condone such behavior, and I'm very upset I would ever do that to another human. But I just couldn't deal with this. He took a step back and threw all of my makeup on the floor, which I get, but then broke all of my decor in my bathroom. I yelled at him to stop and that I was sorry, but he just kept going and punched a hole in my bathroom wall. It was like I was seeing all of his bottled up emotions come out, but I told him to get the heck out. He left the bathroom and I watched him break a few more items as he left. The second he left, I had a panic attack, looking at the mess he made. I called my mother and told her everything that had been happening. I don't talk to my family much due to some past trauma with them. She told me she was on her way. I just broke down the second she got here, and she held me. Then she stood up and started taking pictures of everything he broke. I asked her what she was doing, and she turned to me and said, "We're suing this POS." I honestly didn't even argue. I was so hurt by everything my husband did to me. My mom packed up my computer, and I grabbed a few outfits. My mom and I drove to a hotel, and she insisted on staying with me. While I finished up my work, my mom called a locksmith and my attorney. I will be divorcing him as well, so there it is. I feel guilty for just giving up on my husband in 8 years of our marriage, but it's time for a divorce. I can't live like this, and neither can my husband. I wish I could say we moved on, forgave each other, and I got to see my sister-in-law have her baby, but that's not reality. Thank you guys for the support and help with this situation. Just, wow, what a story. I'm so very sorry for everything you've been through over the past few days. It is all completely devastating, and I'm so glad your mother could see past any family drama and just be there for you in such an important way right now. I mainly want you to know that you're so strong for this. You are so strong for truly prioritizing your mental health and not giving in when everyone called you selfish. We're all with you right now. We're all giving you hugs while you mourn, and we're all rooting for you to recover from this, stronger than ever. Last week, it was my 29 female, friend's 28 female, hen party. The organizers requested we all wear black, and the bride can wear something colorful of her choice, and that way she stands out as the bride. I wore a floral dress with a black background, which I thought was perfectly on theme because it's black as the base, but when I get there, everyone else was wearing all black only. One of the girls in the group asked why I was wearing florals when we were supposed to be wearing black. I said my dress was still black too, just with a floral print. Then when we were having group photos taken, one of the girls who organized it looked annoyed and said the photos looked off, as everyone was wearing full black and the bride was in the middle wearing a color, but with a random floral print taking away attention. Later I confided with another girl, saying I don't see why it was a big deal. It was just a hen party, and I didn't think it needed to be that strict. She said it's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but it also wouldn't have been a big deal for me to just wear black like instructed, that everyone owns black, and it was chosen to make things easy, but it seemed like I was being difficult for the sake of it by purposefully choosing a print. Am I the idiot for wearing a floral dress to a hen party? You are the idiot. The instructions were perfectly clear. The intent of the event was perfectly clear. It was all about making sure the bride got all of the attention. The fact that you're the only person who didn't show up in all black tells you everything you need to know about your behavior. Yeah, OP, didn't follow the simple request, kept asking people and trying to get folks on your side, not apologizing and being out of the way in group photos. If she's still invited to the wedding, she's going to roll up in a white dress with floral prints like, "What? It's got floral prints on it." Excuse me, that's clearly champagne, which is in no way white, so I did nothing wrong. LOL. I find the dress code a little ridiculous, but there was a dress code nonetheless, and not that hard. OP doesn't seem embarrassed at all, and I think that says enough. If it were me, I would have died on the spot. I would have probably left and went home to change, or to a store to buy an all-black dress. Darling, you're numpty. My brother has 3 boys. One is 18, and the other 2 are teens. The oldest is graduating high school this year. They split time between their mom's house and my brother's house. My brother and his ex-wife divorced a decade ago. Both have since remarried. My brother has 2 stepdaughters, younger than his boys, and a daughter with his wife. The boys' mom also had more children. A few weeks ago, the boys asked to speak to my brother and their mom together and made a request that for the graduation and the graduation of the younger 2, that at some point they get a photo of just the 5 of them so they could have a photo of just them and their parents and nobody else. My brother and sister-in-law have not shut up about it since. They think it's outrageous and that the boys are terrible for requesting this. Sister-in-law was practically offended because the girls would not be included, and how would they feel knowing their brothers don't consider them family enough to want them in all the family photos or to distinguish them as lesser than for having a different mom than them. The boys told me their mom and her husband reacted similarly, though not as dramatic, but they don't like it that the boys want something without her husband and their children together. My brother and sister-in-law were going on and on the other week about it during our sister's birthday dinner. After other families tried to change the subject and were ignored, I told them that I didn't find the request outrageous and understood why they would ask. Then I said the topic should be dropped. Sister-in-law asked me how the heck I could understand and how I could excuse the request. I told her that despite the divorce, my brother and his ex-wife are still mom and dad to the boys, and they love them both, so it would probably be nice for them to have a photo of just the 5 of them on what is a significant milestone in my oldest nephew's night. My sister and her husband agreed with me. My brother and sister-in-law think I was an idiot for understanding the boys' request, and that I should be thinking about how my nieces will feel and how sister-in-law felt, given the request wasn't to have the whole family in a photo, but to have the old family in it before any of them came around. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Geez, I thought there were requests that people weren't invited or something like that. A simple photo and they're losing their minds? All they have to do is take a series of photos and just one photo like they want. Sister-in-law's overreacting. It would be different if they wanted to exclude them from every photo, but this is a perfectly reasonable request. Let us know when your brother and sister-in-law don't understand why son visits less and less after he graduates. Yeah, I'm so sick of people remarrying and thinking it's somehow the child's responsibility to make the family work. The child didn't choose this situation. As long as they're being reasonably civil, that's all you're entitled to. When people give opinions, I normally say mind your own business, but they're bringing it up to you. It's just so far beyond anything that makes any sense. It's a fundamental lack of understanding of what a person or consciousness or a being actually even is. They treat living, breathing people they're responsible for like a small, dumb child playing with action figures. Something about the, why doesn't my 9-year-old love my new wife that they found out existed 19 minutes ago, that messes with my brain. I genuinely can't understand how someone doesn't understand it.